welcome to Money Talk. I'm glad you could join us. I'm Kim Parley. Well, the big news this week is that the Liberal Party is back in power for the first time since 2004 with a majority government. Prime Minister-elect Justin Trudeau says he will table legislation that would lower taxes on the middle class and raise taxes on the wealthiest 1% in the first 100 days in office. There may also be a number of other changes that could affect your financial planning. Earlier today, I had a chance to talk with Brian DePratto. He's an economist at TD Bank, and I asked him about some of the potential changes, starting with the TFSA.
In terms of the TFSA, what they've said is they're going to roll back the limit from the 10,000 increase we saw at the beginning of this year back to the 5,500 that it was previously. What they are going to still do, though, is keep the inflation increase. So each year that limit will go up by the rate of inflation, but that 10,000 limit is a thing of the past. Okay.
What about tax reform? Because there's a whole lot that goes within this. But in terms of they campaign on for the middle income earners paying less tax. So what's the details on the platform there?
Well, like you said, it really is focused on those middle income earners. If you're earning between about 40,000 and 90,000, you're going to see a slight tax decrease. If you're above that, not a whole lot of change. And what's new and what they really emphasize in their campaign is a special tax for people earning more than $200,000. So for those individuals, the tax increase will be about 4 percentage points to 33%.
What about income splitting? We've also heard, obviously, the Conservatives at the time were writing on the fact that income splitting was going to be gone for seniors, and then the Liberals came back and said that's not the case. But income splitting is something they're looking at.
That's right. That's right. So in the platform, the Liberals are planning to remove income splitting for non-seniors. For seniors, it will remain. And so they're trying to roll a lot of different things in for the middle class. So income splitting goes out. We have the tax break that we just talked about, and other things like the child benefit. That's going to be rolled into a new child benefit. We don't know all the details there, and the devil's always in the details.
Yeah.
But it seems like they really are trying to target, eliminate a lot of the existing programs, but roll them into new, different programs.
So this is the United Child Care benefit that everyone, I think, or everyone with children, I should say, was receiving. What we've been hearing is that might be more targeted to those maybe perhaps in need of it. And I mean, I don't want to get political here, but their perception of who's in need of it.
That's right, yeah. So it's going to be what economists call means tested.
Right.
Or at least that's the plan. So they'll look at what your income is, and the amount of money you get for your children will depend on the amount of income you're earning each year. Okay, going down the list here, small business tax rates. What did they say about that? They plan to decrease small business taxes to 9%. We don't know how long that's going to take yet. They haven't put in a timeline. The Conservative platform said about 2 to 3 years to implement that. I would imagine for the Liberals, you'd see probably a similar timeline. Okay. And finally, what about the Canadian pension plan? I mean, obviously changes to that. So what is that going to mean? Again, devil's in the details when it comes to the pension plan. What we know so far is that it's going to be similar to the Ontario pension plan that we heard a lot about from the Wynne government. Mm-hmm. So sort of trying to supplement incomes in retirement for people that may not have an employer pension plan. It seems likely actually the Ontario plan may be eliminated and rolled into the Canada-wide plan. Beyond that, we don't know, aside from the fact that they are planning to increase, and that of course means increased contributions as well. Right. I know, and don't worry, we need to put a big asterisk around this entire interview that it depends on what's actually passed and what actually happens. But of all these changes that they were campaigning on, what do you think will probably be the most meaningful to those in the middle class? I mean, or which of these changes do you think are probably the most interesting? To my mind, the most interesting are really when you get down to that middle class or middle income tax break. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a big change. And you really do see a lot more focus, at least in terms of the platform, on really getting those people in that $40,000 to $90,000 range, really bringing a lot of relief into those people, and to some extent at the cost of the so-called 1%. Right. You economists obviously are always focused on cost benefit, and I mean we're just talking about the I'll call the personal finance portion of their platform. There's the infrastructure spending we'll get to, but what they're talking about in terms of just the reforms to the tax side of things, is this going to be a net drain on the Canadian economy? Is this going to be stimulus to the economy in terms of what they're planning? It's really difficult to assess this early. My read at this stage is it's likely to be somewhat neutral. Okay. So, they're eliminating a lot of the existing tax breaks, the income splitting as we discussed, but then they're rolling in a whole bunch of new plans, new breaks, new transfers. So, in the event, it might actually be a bit of a wash. there'll be winners and losers, which is always the case with these kinds of things.
Yeah, and people want to know whether they're on the winning or losing side. Obviously.
Absolutely. So, if you're in that $40,000 to $90,000 range, you're probably likely to be more of a winner, at least at this stage. Again, the high income earners are really where you might feel a little bit of pain, so to speak. Right,
which is what they campaigned on. They were transparent about that. Okay, let's shift now to infrastructure spending. They promised, I think, $5 billion of spending in the 2016-2017 timeframe. What is that going to do? I mean, is that going to be meaningful in terms of this massive Canadian economy that we have?
Yes and no.
Okay. Depends to who, I realize.
It depends to who and depends where it goes. Certainly, if you think about just an aggregate number, as you point out, $5 billion on a $2 trillion economy, not huge numbers. Nonetheless, infrastructure is one of these things economists tend to favor because you really get a lot of bang for your buck, and you tend to actually get a little bit more of an economic impact than what the headline number would say itself. You get what's called a multiplier effect. Jobs created, people spend more money through that. All that to say, we've run the numbers early. Again, we're looking for more details. The impact's likely to be somewhat small, maybe 0.1 on growth next year, and something around 0.3 in 2017. So not huge, but certainly nothing to sneeze at. Okay, last question for you. Deficits when they come, again, they're talking about, I would say, I think it's $10 billion per year over the next couple years. How meaningful is that? Besides the fact we're slipping into negative territory, but I mean, from an economic analysis standpoint, in the big picture, where does that fall? It's the other side of the coin with the infrastructure spending that, in the context of the size of the economy and the size of the federal budget, it really is quite small. Yeah. This is going to, all else equal, increase the debt level relative to what it would have been, but the increase is going to be quite small, and we expect to see the federal debt continue to shrink over the coming years. And that was Brian DePratto, economist at TD Bank Group. Still ahead, more on what a Liberal majority means for the Canadian economy. We'll look at some stocks that could benefit from the party's ambitious infrastructure plan. And a reminder, any comments or questions, we do love to hear from you. Send them to moneytalk@bnn.ca so we can answer them for you in the show, or find the right person to answer them for you.